To say that the Force works in mysterious ways is to admit one's ignorance. For any mystery can be solved through the application of knowledge and unrelenting effort. To be strong in the Force is one thing, but to believe oneself to be all-powerful is to invite catastrophe. Remember that even in the ethereal realm we inhabit, the unforeseen can occur.
I've seen your kind, time and time again. Every fleeing man must be caught. Every secret must be unearthed. Such is the conceit of the self-proclaimed seeker of truth. But in the end, you lack the stomach for the agony that you'll bring upon yourself.
Welcome to Monad of Creation, episode 32. Patience. Why so serious? Whether you're someone who deeply, deeply cares about truth and human evolution, or you're someone who happens to want to transfigure your bodily structures and become something non-human. Or maybe you're both. Whether you believe that there is some external salvation mechanism, some external savior that will save you, or if you believe that nothing matters at all and no one should care or try to do anything, whether or not you are any of the individuals that can fall under those types of attitudes and behaviors and worldviews that I just described, or not, whether or not you're any of those, patience, the concept of patience, the practice and discipline of patience is important. I actually quote-unquote wasted time there because everyone and everything and all of creation and all of reality should understand, embody, practice, know, and feel the importance of patience and be patient if they claim to be, spiritual, intellectual, wise, loving, holistic, smart. I don't care what anyone calls themselves, but I know that today I will share what I know and feel is very important. Patience. And in the last episode, I talked about purity. And I talked about something that I have recently cleared myself with discipline and patience and devotion to the unutterable, which means I sure as hell am very disciplined in my self-mastery, my self-remembrance, my evolution as a being. And the devotion to the unutterable means I care about all reality, all creation. Rather, I unconditionally love all reality and all creation. It does not mean I want to interact with everyone and everything. It doesn't mean I want to have friends. It doesn't mean I want to have exciting experiences all the time. It doesn't mean much at all other than indicating what I truly am disciplined and devoted to. and how I act and behave, what I care to create in the world externally. So through patience and contemplating patience, contemplating discipline, I realized that expressing disgust the way I have been is very detrimental to what I claim to care about getting done. So what I mean by that is expressing disgust, sure. Of course, if you're a pure being in a reality system or planet like Earth, you are disgusted by a lot. There's a lot of things that disgust you, right? And often expressing it is healthy, like venting, actual venting, not complaining, just letting out some thought forms and feelings via expression, however that is. But when you're trying to solve a problem, you're trying to solve a situation, the expression of disgust, when falling on the ears of those who do not understand what it is you are utterly disgusted with, there's no winning, there's no solution there, there's nothing but looping and miscommunication. In my experience, when expressing disgust potently to someone who does not understand why, there's 0 point in doing so. And this is something I had been doing for a long time. So, to go back to basics, before I go into that, the basics of patience are very abundantly clear, I think, to almost anyone who can read, think, communicate, exist at all. You know, when you're formulating a future thing that you need, you know, maybe your want coincides with what you need. That'd be good. Your needs coincide with your wants. And, you know, let's say you rush towards something. I just experienced this as well. You rush towards achieving this goal you have, and maybe there's a lot of synchromysticism happening, a lot of things and alignment. Yes, there can be alignment when you're rushing and you cannot utterly, absolutely 100% cannot achieve your goal. Things can feel good, things can feel like they're going to work out, and you can't achieve your goal. You know, when you're planning to achieve something, rushing is the exact opposite from patience. And rushing, in my experience, from my point of view, what I've done, and things I've been through, rushing has never served me a day in my life. Any of my felt lifetimes has never served me. Rushing is, for what it's worth, total garbage. And it has to do with people needing excitement all the time. It has to do with people lusting after things they don't have all the time. It has to do with this fast-paced society that keeps everybody looping and projecting, right? Looping in their thought forms and projecting things that they haven't cleared themselves and blaming others constantly. So rushing facilitates a lot of that behavior, but mainly, like, if you just think formulaically with the laws of reality and just how things work in life, most people who are patient, let me ask you a question. If you think about your life and you think about people you've known or experiences you've been through, are the patient, diligent people who are going slow and steady in what they want to accomplish, are they typically quote-unquote winning at what they say they want to achieve and do, or are they losing? And on the other hand, are the people who are rushing and just jumping from here and there, you know, not really clearly thinking about what they should do, not intuitively, holistically feeling and sensing all that is around them and within them, just rushing, jumping, you know, from from here to there, go, go, go. It's fast-paced, frantic state of existence. Are they, quote-unquote, winning or losing in their experiences and what they say they want to achieve? Rushing individuals or patient individuals? All I can say is being patient overall, being slow, steady, disciplined, calculated in what needs to be done, how you feel, how you're thinking, how your emotions are, and your disciplines, your integration, and yourself. And then externally, everything you're involved with outside of you, how is that going? That which is within you. If you don't care about ignorance, why let it affect you? If you care about clarity, you value clarity, why would you allow ignorance in any form? I don't care the form, I don't care the amount, any amount of ignorance, any form of ignorance. Why would you let that destroy you? If one of the most fundamental aspects of what's within you is caring about truth and clarity and love. Because clarity, care for it, is the disgust for ignorance, but it's not always necessary to vocalize it. So, someone who's rushing, in this frame of mind, I happen to be sort of rushing in my conversations and discussions when I'm trying to clarify or mediate. Hey, I know a lot of you listening are probably mediators in your family situations, family dynamics. If you don't have family, maybe your friend group dynamics. If you don't have friends, maybe you're a mediator when you see something on the streets happening or at work. If you don't have a job, maybe you're mediating in the woods with some creatures. I don't know. I don't really mind what you're doing. I don't need to know. But a lot of people here are mediators. Maybe you didn't guess yet, I'm a mediator. And I realize that the mediator mindset, constantly needing to mediate, is rushing. It's not patient. So, specifics are irrelevant, but I was in a huge miscommunication about a very important time period in my life, which is now. And the issues at hand were cleared and resolved, but the issue at hand on my end that wasn't cleared or resolved was explaining the concept of looping and conversations looping and one side of a discussion not hearing accurately the other side of the discussion. And I happen to be adding a little externalization of how disgusted I was with the concept of illusion and miscommunication and looping, and people not being able to understand things outside of them that they don't like, or things that go against how they feel, or when they feel like they're attacked. What I mean by that is I was mediating situations for, an hour conversation, mediating, trying to keep it together, trying to maintain clarity. And when an hour passes of doing that, no matter how much of a saint you might think you are, the energy builds and builds and builds. And so if you're rushing in your thought process and you're not being patient, and for some reason you think you need to externalize every single thought you have, every single emotion or feeling you have, the ones that don't ultimately serve your goals, if the situation is reaching a crescendo and the teapot's been screaming for hours on end, it's going to do something. It might melt on the stove. I'm not sure. So, I got a little too righteous in my expression of people not being able to see the insane looping and repetitive conversation at hand. And people who don't understand where you're coming from will never understand why you're being righteously disgusted about a situation, feeling that way, So there's this thing in conversation, and I want to make this clear, there was no debate at all. It was pure miscommunication and not having any ability at all to describe how this was unfolding. And a third party finally stepped in, and when a third party steps in and there's some form of stillness and questions being asked, the person who can't hear often can facilitate hearing what, the pure disgusted person is saying. Long story short, rushing and constantly needing to, express your disgust, which often, even if it's not angry, it will be perceived as angry. It will be perceived as angry. It always will be, because the other end just won't hear you. And so the patient approach, which in this specific, very specific experience that I'm sharing with you, that I've waited weeks to talk about, okay? I've waited weeks to talk about this. It's a very specific thing, is immutable, the dynamics at hand. The patient approach would be to, what I should have done was realize there's no reason to be righteous and overly, keyword overly potent. Potency is great. It should always be potent in your choices and actions and behaviors, and thoughts and feelings. So the overly righteous is perceived as anger. The overly potent is perceived as fury when it's not. So if I was not rushing what was going on, and sure, of course, I could sit here and explain to you, it's justified, I got really frustrated. No, it wasn't justified. I was failing at what I thought I could achieve, which was facilitating clear communication and resolving an issue and actually attaining solutions in what was going on. And I couldn't do that because I rushed, because I was under pressure and frustration. And apparently, showing frustration, externalizing it, and explaining it never helps solutions. So if I was truly patient in this situation, truly patient, and actually could achieve what I set out to achieve, I would have said nothing and calmly just asked questions to help the person understand what was actually going on. Why aren't we actually having a solution? Why does the way I say things make you think that I'm attacking you? Why, all these little things. Because when projecting and looping happens, I don't blame anyone ever. Of course, the situations and variables, the equation, the formula, of course they're going to think that the other person is attacking them. So when there's zero facilitation of truth and clarity, it's time to ask very small questions until they can reach the conclusion on their own. I wasn't doing that. Or, honestly, just say I have no argument and just take a break for a long time. There are some situations that are not worth sticking around in. I understand that. A lot of you might be in situations that are actually to the point of no return and you need to just get out. My situation happened to be important, and I had to salvage it, and I was able to, and I learned a lot from it. And I have a sound clip I'm going to insert here, and for the patrons, I uploaded this vent. I never vent. Someone in the Discord was like, hey admin, you can vent too, because they could sort of tell I was just living on Earth around things that just weren't facilitating actual clarity or true unconditional love in the situation. And I was like, okay, I'll vent. So I recorded a clip, and I'm going to put it here so you can actually feel how disgusted I was. And there's really, what I'm learning now, anyone can do what they want. Choice is a beautiful component of reality. Free will is a beautiful, a lot of people like to call it a gift. It's not a gift. It's actually an immutable dynamic of creation and reality, and it can be viewed as a gift. I think it's an awesome tool. But my choice, my free will choice here, is to stop expressing disgust, unless it's like a homie or an eternal family member who totally understands where you're at, and you guys are just chilling and laughing about the world or something, laughing about yourself even, laughing about each other, and how just seemingly futile things are at times, and why it's like feels like a trash planet. But I'll tell you what, the truth is, it's not a trash planet. It's a beautiful place, and the change is slow and steady. The evolution is slow and steady, and some people can align. It's up to them to choose to align with actual generative, immutable, unconditionally loving evolutionary principles, or choose not to align, and they can have whatever reality they want to exist in. But I'm going to play the clip where I was way disgusted, and I'm telling you what, it serves zero purpose other than me letting out some energy that I needed to let out to a group of people who could understand every word I uttered. Would I say this to the person who I was talking to in the discussion? No. Would I say this to anyone really in a discussion? No. I'm showing you that both at times venting is necessary. No, it can help, actually. It's not necessary. I should be able to clear everything I say in this internally without venting. It's just quick. It's faster. I could have went out throughout my day and cleared everything I was thinking and feeling. But the venting, proper venting, it can do that within minutes. Whereas you can spend, an hour thinking it through internally, feeling it out, clearing. So I'm just showing you like the insane amount of disgust I felt for this situation, and then we can move on, talk about more solutions and what I truly think about this, and how it all is about patience. The time when people express disgust, it's because their patience has run out. They have zero patience anymore. But that's an illusion. It's on them to maintain patience and steady, calculated consciousness, feeling and thinking, and acting, behaving. Okay? So we're going to insert this clip and then listen to it. Let's check it out. Honestly, what happens is that my family or anyone, this is immutable. This is immutable, okay? But in my experience, it happens to be my relatives in my life. Because friends, when those end, it's just like we need to part ways. But family, blood, biological family, if they're worth keeping around, well, you have to talk to them, right? So what happens is I explain my end at the beginning of the conversation. They explain their end, right? It's always, I come into it neutrally, they do too. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful they come into it neutrally. But then once I voice my perspective about what I truly know and feel and about what I perceive going on, they always don't get it. They always don't get it, okay? But the reason is because they get frantically, ungroundedly emotional and get angry, or they feel like it's an attack. So, when people feel like there's an attack or they're angry, they want to blow up and walk away, or they think you're a fucking enemy. And when you're not an enemy at all, and you're not attacking, and you're totally just trying to resolve a situation, and it's already been like 2 hours of discussion, or 1 hour, whatever, 2 hours, 1 hour, whatever. When it's been a long time and you've been calm, there's a point where if you're at a certain level, you either become angry and voice your anger and become angry, or you are able to know that the root causal factor of your anger, which you're going to prevent, is disgust. But this is the tricky part. The disgust, even when it's voiced nicely, even when you nicely and calmly, with love, voice your disgust with whatever it is, whatever's happening, most human beings, when they first of all can't understand what the other person is saying at all, and even relate to them at all in any way whatsoever, if they first of all can't relate and they feel like they're being attacked or they're angry, and then that person they feel like is an attacker is voicing disgust, even in the nicest, most beautiful way ever, they're gonna fucking react like a little temper tantrum filled child. So I'm sharing with you guys what I am working on is removing the need to even express myself, or rather express the information which describes the state of my consciousness, because I realize at this point that doesn't help at all. That never helps, because if the receiver of the information you're trying to show, well, it's not a solution at that point. Showing even in the nicest way ever, showing why you're disgusted. Well, we already established, right? Didn't we already establish that the receiver is angry or they feel like they're being attacked? So how the fuck is it going to help? It's not going to help. It's not going to fucking help. So I'm working on literally, I still perceive it as being a punching bag. Like, when you're in these situations, because if they were my friend, let's be real, if my family was if my relatives, my blood relatives were friends, I would have dropped them like 10 years ago. 10 fucking years ago. I would have dropped all of my relatives. If they were friends, if they were just friends, I would have left all of them 10 years ago. Wait, let's do the math. How old am I right now? I'm 28. Okay, so, yeah. Okay. Yeah, 18, around then, I would have been able, at that point in my life, I would have been able to drop them. Even earlier, though, but I was still developing myself. That's irrelevant. This is all irrelevant. The dynamics of my personal life. But, whatever. Yeah, Olivia, thanks for being like, hey, moderator, you can express yourself if you want to. And I want to reiterate that venting is purely like the manifestation of what's within you coming into vocal format. So some situations, or rather all situations, should truly, from my point of view, all situations should be able to be resolved with someone's sovereign self on their own. But let's be real. Let's be 100% real, okay? I know you guys can handle it if this is listening to on the podcast or in the Discord server. Humanity is, in the aggregate, for the most part, utterly broken in terms of consciousness that can function in any situation. Utterly broken. Utterly broken. So broken to the point where it's tragic. And if you spend time on that tragedy, you will destroy yourself. So what I don't do, I don't spend time getting sad over the broken nature of humanity. I look at it with clarity and know where to place my intuition and know where to place my empathy, know where to place my feelings, so I don't avoid wasting my energy. And expressing disgust, no matter how nice, calm, and beautiful it is, no matter. If the receiver of you, the transmitter, cannot handle it at all, perceive it at all, listen to it at all, or even be there to receive it in the first place because they walked out of the room, or they hung up on the phone because they can't exist. Okay? They can't exist in any situation where there's variables at hand that are seemingly against them. Keyword here, seemingly against them. If you for 1 second hold this perception or point of view that things are against you and you're a fucking victim, well, stop being a fucking victim and be a winner. Because also, if you say you care about succeeding in your goals, succeeding in existing, my goal is to just exist with no one bothering me and the people I interact with to be able to exist also. That's literally all I ask for in life. And you know what? At this point, I'm done asking for it. And I'm never going to ask for it again, because I know that the solution to getting that, you can't just ask for it. You have to work with people. You have to work with yourself. You have to work with whatever it is present. You don't just fucking ask for shit. You don't ask for a healer to heal you. You don't ask for, a doctor to heal you. You don't ask for your relatives, your friends, which end often. You don't ask them to change. You don't ask them to cater. You fucking figure out a solution, and my solution I just figured out. Guess what it is? The most optimal way to clarify and resolve when the receiver of your information you're transmitting can't hang, can't handle, can't exist, can't function at all. Well, there's literally no use expressing or transmitting your information that involves disgust, because the receiver is broken at least 1%. Things that are broken are not the same. Things that are broken are not the same, okay? Nothing is black and white with anything that I say. So, I really do unconditionally love all of you. And some of the beings I've been interacting with are actually becoming close. And I call them eternal family. So, that's all I have to say. It's literally all I have to say. Anything else at this point is just immensely irrelevant. Thank you. Alright, so, yeah, that was interesting to say the least, and in any situation, anything I said in that recording, in that soundbite, serves zero purpose in terms of solutions, external solutions in reality. And often, what I see people do is they express that type of, stuff when they're trying to, make change and solutions and have influence in the world, a pure, loving, evolutionary influence. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. And patience, impatience, frantic thoughts and feelings, and disgust is the formula which drives people to explode often. And I want to make it clear, I did not explode in my situations. I sort of did in my vent, which some people asked me to just do, and I did it, and it expedited my clearing of that stuff. So, patience and purity. Next episode, we're going to build upon this. Patience and purity so far. Yes, you're feeling your pure being amidst rampant illusion and distortions and nonsense, and it's disgusting to you. The patience component makes you realize that there's very few times and places to express that externally and vocally and outwardly. And if you have situations where you can do that, do it. Get it out there. But when you're trying to solve a situation that needs anything but expressing your disgust, don't do it. Stay patient, cunning, calculated, disciplined in what you're trying to get done. And how do you know what must be done? How do you know what must be done? How do you know what to do? What is needed? Well, if you're rushing, you will never find out what you need, and your wants will never align with pure evolutionary needs. Lusting after irrelevancies that you just want. Or wanting pure things that will absolutely not happen in your lifetime. Absolutely not happen in your lifetime. What's the point in rushing and fixating on it and trying to get others to just get it right away and change the world? That's what will make you frantic and destroy yourself. Patience applied with the truth and love is what I needed to realize. It is why I took a few weeks off making podcast content. So that whole entire dynamic right there is indicative of immense mutation. It's indicative of immense nonsense and distortion in reality. Well, and on Earth, within humanity, right? So, overcome the nonsense. Don't succumb to it. If you don't like ignorance, if you don't like things that aren't truly pure and evolutionary for you yourself, those around you, rushing and getting frantic is not the answer. From my point of view, staying patient and disciplined, and holding all the other things that you hold dear to yourself in terms of embodiments and disciplines and integration, yeah, keep that. But I'm sharing with you today that rushing's never served me, and expressing things that need not expression absolutely don't serve. And expressing things that are irrelevant is indicative of rushing, because when you're thinking and talking and feeling things out and you just spew and your faucet's leaking, your faucet of a mouth is leaking. Whether it's a silly complaint or a valid expression of disgust based in purity, and it's not going to achieve what you say you care about achieving, you're rushing. Your consciousness is rushing, And I have done it a lot. I'm not mocking anyone. I'm sharing what I've cleared myself, because I think this perspective can, help someone who might need to hear it. And I like talking about it, so, next few episodes are going to be in alignment, as always. And some situations do in fact take time to work through or talk out. Work through internally with your own process. I don't know. There are a lot of practices and tools and disciplines. Or talk out. But the main thing is self-accountability, self-responsibility, zero blaming others, and really striving for reining in the totality of your being and yourself. And so whether you're working it out internally or working it out with others externally, self-healing, self-sovereignty, self-accountability, self-respect, and responsibility in alignment with purity, truth, and love will be the solution based off all the mess I've experienced in life. No guarantees at all. but the dynamics are immutable. And when something makes literally no sense to you, try to step into the other person's perspective and see where they're coming from. That actually helps a lot, instead of trying to dogmatically force your perspective or your idea of truth down their throat. Force, control, and dogma never truly facilitate evolution. We should know this by now. So, I unconditionally love you all. I am going through periods of immense integration within myself. I deleted the Instagram. I'm not betraying myself to the point of deleting Instagram, because even though there are a lot of people on there who could use the perspective, I felt pretty mucky and grimy every time I created content on there. And it's sure, I don't need to explain myself. It's a personal preference. So I got off it despite, followings I could have gained, more people I could have reached. It was not in alignment with me or what I needed. So I got off. So check out the Telegram in the description. No more public discussion. Go to the Patreon for the Discord server and the Patreon voice notes, Patreon Telegram, and the podcast follow-ups. So I'm doing the podcast follow-ups now on Patreon. I upload them to the Patreon site whenever I can get around to it. I have 4 up now. I have 4 podcast follow-ups for recent episodes where I elaborate further and speak further on select episodes. And the one and only workshop on dreams, sleep paralysis, and visitation. Yes, visitation. Alright. Much unconditional love, everybody. Check yourself, respect yourself, enjoy yourself, and if you choose to, maintain alignment, purity, and truth. Alright. Do what must be done.